All right. Well, thank you so much, ladies, for being here today at today's Sunday's clinic. We are going to be talking about sleep in perimenopause, and I have an expert here to go deeper into this topic. Obviously, you've seen all of this on social media. And there are so many things that can affect us in perimenopause. But I think sleep is one of those things that's underrated, and that affects our metabolic health, is actually, a pillar to our metabolic health. And we have an expert to talk about it today. So I am going to get into Dr. Funke's bio. So Dr. Funke Afalobi Brown, she is a triple board certified sleep physician, and she is the founder of Restful Sleep MD. She is also the best-selling author of Beyond Tired, a sleep physician's guide to solving your child's sleep problems for good. She helps individuals prioritize sleep, achieve optimal health, thrive, and live to their fullest potential. As a busy physician and mom of two, she understands the impact of sleep deprivation on our mental, physical, and emotional health. She has made it her mission to help others make sleep a priority. She also works with organizations and businesses to improve their health by incorporating healthy sleep into their wellness journey. She is a consultant and a speaker on regional, national, and international platforms. She has also published several peer-reviewed manuscripts on various sleep disorders. She obtained her sleep medicine training at the University of Pennsylvania. Everybody, welcome Dr. Funke Afalobi Brown to the stage.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You are
And
so
hi,
welcome.
everyone. So good to see, so good to see you all and nice to meet you. And thank you so much for having me, Dr. J. This is really exciting. Um,
Yes.
I'll go ahead and share my slides if that's
Oh,
okay.
okay. I didn't even know you have slides, but okay, I love it.
Yeah, I
Yes.
will. So I'll just use it more like a guide. And
Okay.
so, and actually I should have asked you, we can make this I can use this, I can use the slides as a guide, and then maybe what we can do if you want is kind of have a conversation
Absolutely. I
where
would love
we
that.
can ask questions and answer them. But just a few things I wanted to touch upon, and then from there we could just kind of have a conversation along the lines, because that will make it even more personalized and all of that,
Yes.
if that's okay. But I'll
Absolutely.
just,
That's
yeah,
a-okay with me.
perfect. So let me go ahead and share them. So we'll talk through. I'm gonna talk about I think 4 or 5 concepts I wanted us to talk through, and then after that I'll stop sharing, and then you could feel free to ask questions. So I usually start off with this because this is really the fundamental, right? Sleep hygiene. So, because many times people are asking me, what's the temperature of the bedroom? You know, how many hours before sleep should I stop having coffee? When should I stop scrolling on social media? And I want to get that off the bat real quick because that's not going to cure your sleep issues in perimenopause. It will help. But I usually want to let's just get that out of the way because it's very fundamental. So it is really about creating healthy sleep habits. That's the foundation. And there are a few things that are very fundamental. It's super easy to remember, so you don't feel like you have to Google all the sleep hygiene recommendations. So I use this acronym of CREATE Healthy Sleep Habits. So that's CREATE. So C stands for consistent sleep time. That's a bedtime and a wake up time. And that's really important because we have this internal clock. And even in midlife, that internal clock starts to shift and really regulate so many functions in our body, our hormones, when it's secreted, our mood, all of that. So it's really important to anchor your wake up time, at least, even if you have if we sometimes we're so busy, there's so much going on, and you may not be able to go to bed at the exact same time every night, but try to wake up at the same exact time. That's going to be very important. Then the second thing is having a bedtime routine, and I'm sure we've heard about those bedtime routines. And really, it's about finding what works for you, whether it's a calming routine where you do maybe some prayer, a shower, some journaling and meditation, just something to just take the edge off. And then E stands for the environment, and that really should be cool. We talk about cool, like cooler than the rest of your house. So depending on what you prefer, because with the night sweats, the hot flashes, all of that, if your bedroom is also, hot and uncomfortable, you're gonna wake up even more. And then A stands for assign the bed for sleep and sex. So the bed should not be where we're reading or scrolling or watching TV or eating. The bed is really where we want to sleep. So you want to train your brain to see the bed as the place for sleep. And then T stands for technology. And that's, we know, the phones, the laptops, the iPads, you name it, all of those things can tend to worsen our sleep quality. And then E is eliminate. So eliminate the caffeine, the alcohol, the heavy meals that are close to bedtime, because those things can really get in your way of getting quality sleep. Now, even though we talk, and this is what I love so much about Dr. J's programs, it's this holistic way of looking at our health. So the same thing when we look at sleep, we're not just looking at sleep as that thing you do between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Restful sleep starts as you wake up. The minute you wake up and get light in your eyes, that's when you start setting yourself up for a good night of sleep the next day. So waking up at a regular time, eating whole healthy foods, making sure you exercise, but not too close to bedtime. Usually we'll say about 2 or 3 hours before bed. You want to limit any vigorous exercise. And then that managing of our mental health, that is so critical. It is so important. So these are things that we want to set the right foundation from the start. This is so important. And then here is why now we've talked about like I so what's left, right? For most places, this is where the talk ends. And this is why, for me, it's beyond just the sleep hygiene, because people would think, okay, well, I've done all those things and I still cannot sleep. Exactly. Because the generic recommendations that are out there that are made for you to sleep are not necessarily having that woman in perimenopause in mind or menopause in mind. No, it doesn't. They just apply to any Tom, Dick, and Harry. Tom, Dick, Harry. They don't really apply to Dr. J, Funke, Renuka. No, they don't. And
Mhm.
this is why your sleep is different when you get into
What?
perimenopause. The
Oh,
first thing is you
I have a
get those
question
hot
too.
flashes. These are those changes in core body temperature that really leads to so much fluctuation. Your body right away calms down because it's trying to cool itself quickly. The skin, the vessels on your skin sort of it vasodilates. You start to sweat. And all of that is going to fluctuate your sleep. Even when you don't have the big hot flash, when it feels like steam is coming from you, even just a gentle change in temperature, in core body temperature, can wake you up. You might not wake up to the point where you're wide awake, but it's enough to fragment your sleep, take you out of that deep comfortable sleep to light sleep. And this is why, as we get older, deep sleep decreases. So people keep saying, "How do I get more deep sleep?" Well, when you hit this stage of life, because of all these changes in your body and your hormones, deep sleep starts to go down. The second thing that can happen is anxiety and mood changes occur because the hormones we talk about, mainly the estrogen, progesterone, the testosterone, cortisol, all of that, when they start to decrease, some of those hormones help with balancing our mood. So now you have anxiety on top of, you know, this brief arousals. And then what happens is now you start to, really have a tough time with sleep. And then the other thing is our circadian rhythm, that internal clock that tells us when to go to bed, when to wake up, all of that, it starts to shift as well. Now, here is one that a lot of people are not aware of. In perimenopause and in menopause, your risk of sleep apnea actually triples. And that's not a typo, it triples. So, this is we're not looking, most people are not looking into this because as the progesterone is dropping and the estrogen is dipping, those those hormones also help with controlling the tone of your upper airway. Your breathing muscles start to relax. And so imagine combining that with sleep where your muscles are naturally relaxed. That's double trouble. So we start to get dips in oxygen because if your airway is collapsing because it's also relaxed in sleep, we're not getting oxygen to our brain, to our heart, and then we start to talk about the risks that we see that start to increase the risk of high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, the risk of heart attacks. All of that increases because again, sleep apnea we start to see more of. Restless leg syndrome also is something we see in a lot of women in menopause and perimenopause. And then just the mental load, the midlife sandwich generation, right? You're taking care of the kids, and then you have aging parents, you have stress at work, you may have your own business. And so this is why telling you to just put your phone away, none of this has to do with a phone. Of course, if you're scrolling on TikTok on top of all of this, then yeah, exactly, right? So this is why beyond just sleep hygiene, it's important to understand that there are other reasons why your sleep gets worse in this stage of life. So what are we supposed to do? Now, I want to just cover a few things around hormone replacement therapy because that's another question I get a lot. Well, I was told if I get on hormone replacement therapy, all my troubles are going to go away. I'm going to be this whole brand new person. Yes, I can tell you and I can testify hormone HRT changes lives. I'm so thankful that we're having conversations around it. Many practitioners are becoming more aware and are prescribing it. And when we talk about hormone replacement therapy, it's really a regimen that has to be customized to you. So there's no one path, one size fits all. Some people will need a combination of estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. Some people will need only estrogen. Some people will need vaginal. Some people will need topical estrogen. Some people will need oral. Like there's so many forms of it, right? So it's important that if you're going to be on HRT, you want to make sure that you're going to someone who has experience with prescribing. That being said, will HRT fix my sleep? That's the first question I hear. Yes, actually, estrogen will help improve your sleep. Why? It will improve those hot flashes. By improving the hot flashes and the night sweats, it decreases those micro wake ups that you might be having because of all the changes in your core body temperature. So absolutely, it will help. Will progesterone help? Oh, yes, it will. Now, progesterone, we know, especially bioidentical hormones, it actually can improve your nighttime wake up. So if you have that 3 a.m. wake up where for no reason you just wake up, your heart is racing, progesterone has actually been called nature's Xanax. So it has this GABA activity, which kind of helps to relax. And so it can help with your sleep issues. Now, here's the big $1 million question. Will HRT fix my insomnia? Will HRT fix my sleep apnea? No, nope, it doesn't. If you have an insomnia disorder, meaning that this is not just an occasional wake up from time to time, this is like something you've been struggling with for months or years, and you now even have gotten to the point where you just wake up for no reason, HRT will help if it will help the hormone related parts of your wake ups, but it will not cure chronic insomnia. So, this is really where after you've started HRT, if that's something you choose to do, you start to have a conversation to say, but I'm still waking up. So what else can we do? And this is where we talk through what we call chronic behavioral therapy for insomnia. I usually want to just talk through um, non-hormone replacement therapy options because people say, well, I don't think, maybe there's a history of breast cancer or something, you're just not ready for HRT. Because again, while HRT or hormone replacement therapy is a game changer, it's not for everyone. It's not for everyone. It's a very individualized conversation. So, or you're saying, okay, you know what, I just want to support my sleep right now. I don't know necessarily that I'm fully at that point where I feel like I need to be on hormone replacement therapy. There's some supplements that can help. And when I say help, I mean can support. It, just like HRT will not cure chronic insomnia, supplements will not cure chronic insomnia. Okay? They won't cure it. It will support. So when you think about supplements, think about sleep support. Think about, you know, just something you're doing to enhance okay sleep. But if you have chronic insomnia, we need to look into other treatment options. So magnesium glycinate is one of the most common uh, supplements that I hear a lot of people using, and I actually prescribe it as well in my practice. I do see that, especially for women who tend to feel like cramped up, a little bit tense at bedtime. Using some magnesium can help. I like magnesium glycinate. There are different formulations. Magnesium glycinate and magnesium threonate is they're two of my favorite. Magnesium citrate, some of those things can actually help use to relieve constipation. So just be careful because you now might have another reason why you're waking up because you got to go to the bathroom. So this is why I usually will say magnesium glycinate is good. Melatonin in sort of lower doses can help if you have that delay in your internal rhythms. For instance, you're that person who's not able to fall asleep until midnight because you're like a night owl. Sometimes a low dose of melatonin can help. But melatonin, again, will not cure chronic insomnia. And most people abuse it. They overuse it and they use doses that are very excessive. You need very, very low doses, actually, zero point 0.5 to maybe, I don't usually prescribe more than 5 milligrams of melatonin. If it doesn't work at 5 milligrams, 20 milligrams or 10 milligrams is not going to help. And then there's L-theanine, which is also helpful for reducing sleep-related arousal and anxiety. So that's also something, again, sleep support. Cognitive behavioral therapy is the first line treatment for insomnia. This is really what is evidence-based, where you're addressing the thoughts, the behaviors, and the habits that might be getting in your way of good sleep. So that's, and we'll talk a little bit about it, and I think in a couple of slides. And then in some patients using SSRIs, low dose paroxetine has been shown to help. There are a few other medications now that are available. Insurance coverage tends to be an issue, but those medications tend to help. Like one of them is Vioza, I think Vioza. It's helpful, but if you get insurance to cover it. Now, where do we see zero evidence where I actually recommend against it because you might be doing more harm than good? CBD, very poor quality evidence. Valerian root, Benadryl. In fact, that puts us at risk for dementia and some other conditions. And then alcohol. Alcohol is definitely not something that we tend to recommend for patients who have chronic insomnia. Although it's very easy to just take a little, take some alcohol, a nightcap just to help you relax and go to sleep. But many times it becomes this thing that we're now doing from night to night, and definitely not something that we want to use on the long run. So we know that hormones can help, but there's a whole lot more. So we've talked about what hormones can do, how hormones can help. We've talked about non-hormone options, sort of sleep support that you can use. Like I mentioned, the risk of the risk of sleep apnea is real. The symptoms of sleep apnea in women in perimenopause can be very subtle. So you might not necessarily have the loud snoring or the gasping or the pauses in breathing. You may just have constantly unrefreshing sleep. You may have, morning headaches. You may wake up just feeling exhausted and tired all the time. You might actually find yourself waking up multiple times at night. You might notice that you just have mood changes, irritability, And then in some women, they might actually have reflux symptoms or gasping or choking and things like that. So if you have been struggling with any of these symptoms, it's really important to get evaluated for sleep apnea because it is such a treatable condition and there's so many options. And now thanks to technology, you can be assessed using a sleep study that can be sent to your home. You don't have to come to a sleep lab to get wired up. You can get a sleep test at home. If the study comes back positive, you can meet with a sleep doctor and you could talk through various treatment options. There are many treatment options. Yes, we know CPAP is an option, but beyond CPAP, there's several other treatment options that can absolutely be helpful. So these things I would say are critical. Um, and I just wanted us to just be aware of it. And I'm gonna stop sharing now, and then I would actually, I think, oh, sorry, before I do that, let me just talk you through, because I did say cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia several times, sorry. So let me just share my screen again and talk through that very briefly, and then I'll take any questions you have, or if you want me to expatiate on anything, I will do that. So, what is cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia? We also call it CBTI. This is different from CBT. We may have heard CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, which is a treatment for, that it's a kind of type of psychotherapy where they're just focusing on like your thoughts and belief systems. Well, this is really specific to sleep. So one thing we know with insomnia is that you may have started off with a bad night of sleep, and then one night of sleep becomes several nights of bad nights of sleep, which then becomes several months of bad nights, and then maybe years. I have women who have been struggling with sleep since for 20 years. And now you have a whole different, interesting relationship with your sleep, where some women will have anxiety before sleep, or they've done everything and they still wake up at, 3 a.m. for no clear reason. Their mind is racing and things like that. So CBTI focuses on those things. It focuses on decreasing your arousal, because what happens is you almost get into a fight and flight mode when you wake up and you're having a hard time falling back asleep. So cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia addresses the thoughts around your sleep, the behaviors. So we're actually putting in certain strategies like decreasing that association that your brain has with wakefulness when you're in bed so that your brain learns to trust to sleep again. We talk about what we call sleep restriction therapy, where we're really limiting the time you're spending in bed so that we can sort of rewire that nervous system. And then we go over very clear, specific relaxation strategies. Cognitive behavioral therapy has been around for years. Again, it's the gold standard for treating insomnia. Medications are not the gold standard. Medications can support. Supplements are not the gold standard. Supplements can support. But CBTI by either a CBTI specialist, you also have um, some self-help books, you have some resources, you have courses that you can take, because depending on where you're located, there may not be places where you can get direct access to, a sleep specialist like myself. I'm licensed in a few states, but not in all states. And so this is something that actually gives you the tools that you need to get the sleep. It usually goes on for anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. So you're meeting with, or you're doing the exercises weekly, and then you're sort of layering on that. Again, one of my patients said, I want to learn how to trust, to have my sleep confidence back. And so you kind of build on that sleep confidence over the course of the 6 to 8 weeks. But then there are a few things you want to know about when to see a sleep specialist. If you're just wondering, okay, I've tried everything you said, Dr. Brown, I've done all the sleep hygiene. In fact, I started an HRT and I'm struggling. If you're still struggling to sleep after maybe 3 months or more, it might be some time to speak with seeing a specialist. You should absolutely bring it up with your primary care doctor first, but this might be time to start wondering. If you've been told you snore, you have choking, gasping, shortness of breath while sleeping, while sleeping. If you're having this uncontrollable urge to sleep, I've had patients fall asleep on the wheel. I've had patients involved in car accidents again because they just fell asleep. If you're having restless leg symptoms, that's really something that you need to get evaluated for. If you're having sleepwalking or you're acting out your dreams or having abnormal night behaviors, that's also a red flag. Or if whatever is going on in your life when it comes to sleep is affecting your work, your relationships, or your overall well being. And then another red flag is if you need alcohol or all this over the counter sleep aids constantly to be able to sleep, that's time to reach out for help. And if you're that person who's waking up from 2 to 4 a.m. multiple nights in a row and you're not able to fall back asleep, then you absolutely need to get evaluated. So I believe that's the last slide. So now I talked to you about CBTI or cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. This is really, again, the number one treatment that we recommend. There's actually a course that I made specifically for women in perimenopause. It's called the Sleep Recovery Method. So it's an insomnia program. It's evidence-based and it's built for women like you. So it's actually 6 weeks, self-paced. You do 1 week at a time, 1 week at a time. So you are getting, the guidance you need. So it's videos you watch with worksheets. So you're literally building on everything I talked about, the education about your sleep, learning about the stimulus control to retrain your brain to learn to sleep again. Then you're also actually doing, one of the things I talk about is also tracking your sleep. So you actually will have a tool that you can use to track your sleep. And then we also talk through different meditation and relaxation strategies in there. So it's a very comprehensive course. Most of the CBTI courses, again, similar to sleep hygiene, they're really made for Tom, Dick, and Harry. They're not made for Bonik and Renuka and Dashima and Dr. J and myself. So this is really a course that was created by a woman in midlife for a woman in midlife like yourself. So you can either scan QR code or you can go to my website, is restfulsleepmd.com. I'll drop that in the chat and you can start you could actually start doing the course tonight. And I know I didn't tell Dr. J about this, but I'm actually this is not something I do at all. my my consultations are $500 an hour, but I'm going to offer a free 30-minute consultation to the first two people that purchase the course. So if you go on and you purchase the course tonight, the first two people that purchase the course, I'll actually offer, and that consultation is just it's going to help you understand exactly what's going on with your sleep, and I'm going to give you the tools you need, and so that will definitely enhance and support the things that you learn in the course. So I'm going to stop there. Thank you so much. I'll be happy to take questions and then we could take it from there.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Funke. Everybody take advantage of that, okay? Because Dr. Funke, she is an expert in her field. I have dropped the links in the chat where you can go ahead and purchase the course. And make sure that you stay up to date with Dr. Funke. And also, let me also put in your website as well,
Yeah,
the Restful Sleep Place. So these are all of her links. I put the course there where you could find her at Restful Sleep MD, her email, and her website. So
awesome. Thank
certainly take
you.
advantage of all of this, of all the
Yeah.
beautiful knowledge that Dr. Funke dropped on us today. So this is the part where we open it up for questions. You have access to a sleep expert. So certainly take advantage of the course and the free consultation for the first two who sign up. So does anybody have any questions? Okay, so we have Dashima who raised her hand. Okay, go ahead. Are you able to unmute?
Yes, hi. Thank
Okay,
you for
perfect.
calling.
Hi.
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 Hi. I actually had a question. I know you were talking about pharmacotherapy, and I
Yeah.
wanted to know your thoughts on trazodone and its use, if you think it's helpful, if you think it's something that should be used long term. I just wanted to know what you thought.
Yeah. So I do prescribe sleep medications for insomnia, but as a bridge. So these medications have been approved for um, insomnia, but as a short-term strategy. So I think the issue is it becomes this thing that people are on. Like I have patients who have been on trazodone, Ambien, you name it, for 10 years, 20 years, coming to see me and not able to come off. So we really then work on the tools, which is the cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, and then we actually start to get them off. And it's funny, even in the course, I talk through all the different possible medications that can be used, and what role that they play. So, from the benzos to the non-benzos to the Doras, there's like a whole slew of things people are throwing at people because insomnia is a very debilitating condition. But on the long term, so here's what I see people do. They start off with Ambien or they start off with trazodone, low dose, kind of move up. I had somebody who was on almost 300 milligrams of trazodone. If you're using like 50, 100 milligrams, if it's not working, more does not mean better. And then from there was, switch to a different medicine, keep going up. And what that just reinforces in your brain is that lack of sleep confidence and again reinforces see dependent. I need this medication to sleep rather than looking and saying, well, what's driving this? Is this the arousal system? Is this the hormonal issue? And then being able to tackle it. But as a bridge, yeah, because sometimes it's hard to function and sometimes you may be so impaired, or the patient may be so impaired that we're like, okay, you know what? Let's just give you something to take the edge off. But we definitely need to work on getting that natural state, sleep state, as soon as we can. So hopefully that helps.
Yes, thank you.
Great. We
Yeah.
have Dr. Shanti, and then we have a question in the chat.
Hi, Dr. Fonke, and thank you for the information. Very valuable as far as filling in the gaps. The question is, how do you define insomnia in, as a specialist of it? Because I hear different things, and what I've read is sleep deprivation, less than 6 hours of sleep.
Very good question. Thank you. So insomnia is actually completely different from sleep deprivation. Sleep deprivation is when you is really the lack of sleep opportunity. So with sleep deprivation, either voluntarily or involuntarily, you're not given enough of sleep opportunity. So I think of doctors. Doctors are sleep deprived. Why? They either voluntarily or involuntarily just don't get enough sleep. I think of a new mom who just had a baby. Involuntarily, is not getting sleep opportunity. I think of that, young adult in college who parties every single night. Well, voluntarily, they're not getting enough sleep opportunity, or that person who's on their phone all night long, voluntarily, there's not adequate sleep opportunity. For most people with insomnia, there's enough sleep opportunity. In fact, for people with insomnia, there's too much sleep opportunity. I have people who stay in bed from 8 p.m. all the way to 8 a.m. trying to sleep. So that's insomnia. Insomnia is when you have difficulties either falling asleep, staying asleep, or waking up earlier than you desire despite adequate sleep opportunity. And that's what differentiates it from sleep deprivation. And with insomnia, you might have a medical sleep issue that may be contributing to it, which is why we talk about screening for sleep apnea, which is why we still want to make sure that, okay, is there any role that hormone hormones are playing, all of those things. So a few things can fuel it, but it's its own entity on its own. So hopefully that helps clarify.
Thank
That
you
is
very
good.
much.
All right.
Yeah.
And there's a question in the chat. So Miriam states, should Black women be screened for insomnia or sleep apnea since these can be misdiagnosed in our community?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So a woman who is a woman of color, or I would say definitely Black women, will be told she's depressed. That's it. So a man will go into a doctor's office to say they're tired and they're having sleep issues, and they will leave with a prescription for a sleep study, or they would leave, or maybe they'll leave with a prescription for medication for insomnia. A woman that walks into that same office will leave with the medication for depression. And now she's going to go out there thinking she's depressed. And then she comes back and says it's not working. And they now climb up the ladder of medications. Meanwhile, she should have been evaluated for sleep apnea and treated for her insomnia. So this is absolutely something that is often missed. Um, 90%, 90, not 19, 90% of women with sleep apnea are undiagnosed. 90%. So I think there, no matter how many, if there are 10 women in a room that have sleep apnea, only one of them knows she has it based on diagnosis. That's how sad this is. And women of color, like Black women, I have no idea. That's probably minuscule. So this is something that's an urgent problem. And really, that's been my goal to try to raise awareness about this issue.
That was good. That was a great question. Anyone else? Oh, Renuka. Yes, go ahead, Renuka. You could go ahead and speak.
Uh, Hi, thank you so much for your presentation. It was really good and interesting. But I had a question about like when you were talking about the specifically the slide that said why your sleep gets worse in perimenopause.
Mm.
Because I noticed that a lot of those kind of points that were being made kind of overlap with what younger women go through when they still have their periods. Because I know a lot of my friends kind of complain about, you know, not being able to sleep because of just getting over like, hot flashes during the night and things like that. And I think that when you have that, it's kind of not taken very seriously by, the person who has the period and also those around them, because it's kind of just like, oh, it's your period, it's going to happen. So I guess the question is more about like, would you be able to predict sort of the sleep conditions that you would have when you're going through menopause or perimenopause if you look at what your period is like when you do still have them?
Yeah, great question. So one thing I should have included is this. The first symptom, actually, that most women in perimenopause develop is are sleep issues. And this can occur as early as 7 years before your period starts to get irregular. So even in the midst of a regular period, if you're having these symptoms, it might still, now, does it mean you have to go on HRT right away? Maybe not. We could do environmental management. We could look at, sleep support. We could look at all those things, right? But it's still possible. I have women who has as early as their mid 30s start to develop these symptoms, and we um we start to pay attention and intervene quickly, because the longer you're in that, I wake up briefly, maybe because I'm hot, or, night sweat, whatever. I wake up. Now you're caught in that insomnia loop for longer, which still can be treated. But why should you have to suffer for so many years because we're waiting for your periods to be regular before we start taking you seriously? So that's the thing. And then the other thing is, even in the absence of the perimenopause, menopause piece, we still have some of these in, young women, women in their 20s, whatever. And we still need to pay attention to it because it's impacting your daytime function, your relationships, your productivity. And as you can see, like, yes, HRT is one option, but there's so many other things that can be done, even if it's felt that you shouldn't necessarily be started on HRT because you're not in perimenopause or menopause. I hope that answers your question. I know it's a bit long-winded, but those declines, those changes can be seen like ultra early, even when you have regular periods.
Okay, yeah, no, that answered it. Thank you.
Of course.
These are some good questions. Anybody else? We have Dr. Funke, sleep expert on the stage. You have her at your disposal right now. Any questions?
I have one.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
um, Dr. Funke, how do you feel about supplements that sometimes say that they can activate the melatonin that is blocked by sleep aids that contain melatonin in order to I in order to reactivate, so to speak, the melatonin that quote unquote is blocked by melatonin containing supplements. How do you how, my my sometimes I have a challenge when people say that a supplement can activate a natural hormone in the body. How do you feel about that? Statements like that.
Do you know what an example?
Of a supplement that does that?
Yeah,
Uh, mm, I can't think of one at the moment,
okay.
but I know
So,
that sometimes what
yeah,
they do is that they take the precursor 5-hydroxytryptophan
yeah,
as one of those active ingredient in that supplement that needs to be that precursor, which can naturally activate the melatonin because it goes through those biochemical um, changes to go from 5-hydroxytryptophan, then serotonin, and then melatonin in a way to unblock that. So, yeah.
yeah. Um, so so here's the thing. Yes, there we in the melatonin synthesis pathway, there's certain sort of what we call cofactors. And if they are not, if they're deficient, like you said, like tryptophan, even vitamin D is involved to some degree in that synthesis. If you have a deficiency of it, we usually want to make sure we optimize for that. So in a situation like that, the goal is to enhance. But if everybody goes and puts themselves on 5-HTP, if they do not have that deficiency, you will not see an improvement. If anybody goes ahead and eats a whole turkey, because apparently turkey contains tryptophan, but you're not necessarily deficient, you will not see much of an effect. So in a situation where there's a deficiency state, so when I do my comprehensive evaluations, I have a sleep clinic. One of the things we look at is like your micronutrients. So we'll look at things like your B6, B12, vitamin D. Some of those things can impact melatonin synthesis as well as so many other things, right? You think of vitamin D, it's like it's involved in so many pathways. So we would optimize for that and not to fix the sleep, but just again as some kind of support. So I would say a lot of the conversations around that are marketing gimmicks, but there is a role for optimizing nutrition. Now, if you're eating whole nutritive foods where you're getting the sufficient amount of your proteins and your vitamins and your minerals, we really should, and you're getting outside enough and you're exercising, all of that. Usually we shouldn't be having issues with that. But that would be the one thing I would say that might be related.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
All right. And I saw Renuka. She raised her hand. You could come and speak.
I had a question regarding the cognitive behavioral therapy, specifically for insomnia.
Yeah.
Because I just really quickly, out of curiosity, looked up the stimulus control therapy that
Yeah.
was pointed out. And it seems to have a lot of like overlap with the create that you mentioned at the beginning of the talk. So I was kind of wondering whether there's, additional things that go into the stimulus control and like how that would work in a deeper sense.
Yes. Oh, I love that question so much. So that's the thing. Think about the way I look at that is create is almost like part of that, the sleep hygiene that a lot of people talk about when you Google sleep hygiene. I just use more, I created this create, whatever. Um, because there's like 20 sleep hygiene tips and they're all over the place, but I wanted to make sure there was evidence behind what I do and what I teach. Now think of those sleep hygiene, all of that, sleep habits as the building blocks to healthy sleep. So the same way if you have, dental hygiene, right? You go to the dentist, they tell you you got to floss twice a day, you got to brush daily, you got to take care of your oral health, all of that stuff. You can floss nonstop if you have a cavity, but dental hygiene will not fix a cavity. Same way with insomnia. Create will help with building blocks. And I've seen quite a number of people that I work with, which is why I always start off with the base because I cannot see everybody. I would love to. But if you start off with the right tools and you are building the right, you're building the right things, you might actually not get into insomnia. You might not, which would be awesome. But for most people, if you've had chronic insomnia, when we talk about stimulus control, we're talking about more of a situation where we're actually looking at your sleep diary, or you can actually track it yourself. And you are really decreasing that cognitive arousal because unlike your general sleep hygiene, healthy sleep habits, you don't have an arousal problem. But in insomnia, you're in you have a hyperarousal state. Your brain is learned that the bed is where we wake up and ruminate and worry and cannot fall asleep. So we break that association, and it will take time to do. So it's definitely a lot more in depth through stimulus control. So I hope that helps.
Well, that was a
Yes,
great
thank you very
question.
much.
Yeah.
That was a really great question.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you guys are like asking really
I
solid. I
know
love it.
this group is smart, right?
I think that's why I started off very like, let's get the sleep hygiene thing out the park. Now, let's get into the meat of the matter. I feel like we're getting into some really good meat of the matter.
Absolutely. Anybody else? Any other questions? Going once, going twice. All right. So there are no other questions. That concludes our talk. Let me just include for those who came later. Let me put all the places where you could find Dr. Funke. She has a course for women in perimenopause right now, and she graciously stated the first two people who purchase the course that she will have a free consultation with. So you could find that at the second link that I just posted there, which is www.restfulsleepmd.com/course. You could also follow Dr. Funke at Restful Sleep MD. And if you have any people in the Philadelphia area, where else are you licensed, Dr. Funke?
I'm licensed in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, California, and Virginia.
Okay, all those places. Then then that is where that they can work with Dr. Funke. So last call for questions. All right, well, Dr. Frankie, thank you so much for being so gracious with your time. This was so good. Our audience is so smart and they ask some really good questions.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, thank you all for staying on and for asking really, really good questions. I appreciate it. Yeah, and feel free to reach out. I have a YouTube channel. I'm on Instagram, all the socials everywhere. So yeah, I'm always, 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 always excited to help.
Yes, and I will also provide that in email with all of Dr. Funke's places where you could find her, as well as the course. So don't forget to purchase the course. She's offering again a free consultation for the first two people, so make sure you check that out. It's a 6 week program, correct?
Yes, yes, self-paced. You could go as fast as you want, as slow as you want, but at the end, the goal is to reestablish your sleep confidence. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for everything you do for women, for children, for everybody. You are making our sleep health much better. And I love the way that you do it from a holistic approach, from the ground all the way up. So thank you for all that you do.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for all that you do. I love your passion and your mission to help women as well. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And you're seeing all the stuff that this was valuable, Dr. Funke. This was
Oh,
great. Thank you
thank
very
you
much.
also.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So thank you so much for just blessing us with your presence and your expertise.
you're welcome. You're welcome. All right,
All
everyone.
right, ladies. Well, bye. Have a good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.